Good afternoon. Hopefully you all can hear me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm going to be your moderator. I'm Tapan Nagori. I'm a partner out of Chicago and had the pleasure and privilege of staying within the Oracle ecosystem for more than 26 plus years. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here, Yan Lee, who I've known for a long, long time. She's one of our premier data experts that I have across all platforms. And as most of you know, data is a very integral part of any large-scale finance transformation implementation. Beyond that, I think some of you guys might have attended the keynote that Safra mentioned. I have 3 clients who have absorbed the true change that is required for a large-scale finance transformation. Starting off with Bank of New York Mellon. They are the largest custody asset servicer in the world with 1.8, again I repeat, $1.8 trillion of assets under management. They are considered a SIFI, a systemically important financial institution. And then they're joined also by Global Payment. Are they a technology company? Are they a financial company? But having said that, they are the payment network. Most of us have probably experienced that. They have 27,000 employees. They are in 170 countries. Along with them, I have USAA, which most of you probably saw their advertisements on TV. They service our military families. Are they a bank? Are they an insurance company? No, they're actually both. And they have actually one statistics that probably my practice would probably want, which is they have a 98% customer retention rate. I'm sure we all would love to have that, right? So this panel, in my mind, if you look at it, we have done some of the largest implementations, and we will walk through in the next 40 minutes or so. Again, we want it to be very transparent. We'll give you some context around what some of the lesson learned are. Why don't I start off with maybe Mike, you describing your journey that you've been through and maybe give your background as well.
Sure, thank you, Tapan. So my name is Mike DeLuca. I'm a managing director with the Bank of New York Mellon. Okay, and
Let's try that.
Distracting. So our journey took about 2.5 years. What did we do? So we replaced our consolidation system, general ledger, our project costing, fixed asset, intercompany modules onto the Oracle platforms. Like I said, it took about 2.5 years. We also did this. We started off during the COVID years, which was very challenging for us. And the question I get asked a lot is why? Why did we do this? And 3 main reasons come into play: scalability, better functionality, right? And it was the industry direction. Overall, we just needed to modernize, right? And those were the main drivers for our journey.
Thanks, Mike. Jen, how about your journey?
Sure. My name is Jen White. I am the Executive Vice President for Business Accounting at Global Payments. We're actually at, I guess, the 6th year of our journey in the cloud. Global Payments has long been an acquisitive company, and in 2016, we completed our first public company acquisition, and we knew that the investment to integrate that business was going to be significant. We've always been an Oracle shop, and at that point in time, we really had to consider strategically what our future was going to be, and were we going to continue to invest in our on-prem environment, or were we going to go to the cloud? And quite frankly, going to the cloud in 2017 was a pretty bold move. Ultimately, we did decide to move to the cloud, and I think I have a couple of my IT friends here in the room today, and I think we sort of shocked them when the accounting team rolls up with the plan to go to the cloud. But we've had a really great success since then. It wasn't always easy, for sure. We participated in the FCCS early adopter program for our initial implementation. And at that time, in 2017, 2018, FCCS was a pretty new product. And we definitely invested a lot of time in making sure that that product has been improved, and it's actually a great piece of our toolkit today. We ultimately went live in February of 2019 with kind of the full ERP suite, EPM, across a dozen countries. Since then, we've integrated, I guess, about 10 more companies, and we've rolled out some PaaS solutions for certain complex billing functionality that we have. And today we actually just launched 2 more large projects. We've acquired recently another public company. We have that integration going, and then we're also furthering our build out of the PaaS solutions for some of our custom back office settlement applications. So look forward to talking to you guys more about that today.
Is that all you have going on, Jen?
That's it.
Okay. All right, so for USAA, maybe your journey?
Absolutely. I'm Ankur Shah. I'm the senior manager leading service support teams for cloud enablement, robotics process automation, and all the other extraneous applications that we currently have within support. Our journey started in 2019, but prior to our journey, our CFO organization faced lots of challenges. We had 15 days close cycle. We had, across our lines of business, we had a disparate number of chart of accounts. There was no common chart of accounts that we could actually lean on to actually have a sound reporting strategy. Our reporting layer, actually there was no reporting strategy at the time. So part of our journey in 2019 we took on was to simplify the scope, simplify that strategy, and actually offer our customers the ability to actually use reporting framework that Oracle Cloud has. Not only that, but I mean, part of our changes and benefits, what does success look like for us, right? We were able to close within 4 days. We're able to actually deliver consistent reporting layers. Our senior management is able to, right after the close, our senior management is able to actually look at their flash reports that they actually can look at their balances right away. This was something that took multiple derivations, and including downloading data from our data marts and being able to assimilate the information before it gets to senior management. Now we've actually simplified that and being able to actually deliver those reports directly to our senior leadership. The other changes that we made, significantly improved our financial strategy for our organization. Standardization, a common ingestion platform, and basically being able to deliver the data to downstream consumers. We had 115 downstream consumer systems that are actually want our data to actually be able to push data downstream and to perform some analysis of it. After that, we had 3 different options in our journey. We wanted to actually, either we actually take on the first approach is to be able to actually launch ERP, EPM to our lines of business, all our lines of business, but we wanted to build a foundation for it. Foundation was important because it actually offered a common canonical model for us to actually be a leverage to deliver data to the cloud. We will get into that later, Tapan. So I think at this point, I think I can go on.
No, clearly you're very passionate about it. So maybe, I know you already started talking about some of the benefits, but maybe Jen, I can go back to you. I know we just had this discussion about the approach and people who are going on the cloud journey. There is a big bang approach, module approach. What was the approach Global Payments evaluated after how many tries?
Sure. So for our initial migration into the cloud, or our initial launch of the cloud, we did opt to do a big bang approach. We have used other approaches since then. We have done kind of the phased rollout. I know, Mike, that was your experience. Look forward to hearing more about that. From a big bang perspective, we went live with ERP, GL, FA, AP, AR, order management, project accounting, again, across a dozen countries. And I think the way that we were able to make that a success for our project was just the level of involvement that we made sure we had across all of our teams in all of those countries. Each country, each business had a stake in our project, and we made sure that those people could productively participate during their own time zones. That was something that I worked on very closely with our PwC team to make sure that there were resources available during business hours for my team in Hong Kong or my team in Manila or my team in the UK. And we put their name on a page and we said, you're the person that's responsible for GL for the UK. And they were really, I think, excited to have that ownership in our project. And so because we created such a kind of a team spirit around the project, I think the Big Bang process actually went well for us. Every project is different, and like I said, we have used other approaches before, in other integrations and transitions, but that's kind of the background for our Big Bang approach.
I see. Mike, how about you? You had a little different flavor to that, and what were some of the benefits that you were trying to derive through that process as well?
Right, so little bit different. We were on global platforms already. We had a global GL, we had a global consolidation system, which was HFM at the time. GL, project costing, fixed assets, intercompany, AP was all on PeopleSoft. So to phase it out regionally didn't make much sense. We would have been going with 2 GLs for a period of time, maybe even 3. So what we decided to do was just implement each module in a phased approach. We started off with FCCS, then we moved to accounts payable, and then we did the rest. We did GL, AP, intercompany, project costing, and fixed assets all at once. So sounds a little bit backwards, right? Because FCCS is the last in the data flow. It's the consolidation system, which takes in all the information from the GL. Why did you start with that first? Well, we started with that first because HFM at the time was not, there was not going to be supported for much longer, and it just made sense for us at that time. Let's just use FCCS first. And the reason why I bring that up is because we had to make decisions on the general ledger much earlier than I would have liked to, because we were already looking at phase 3 for the general ledger. So we were looking at our chart fields and all the data that was in the general ledger beforehand. And I remember sitting, with our team and with our implementation partners, and they were asking me questions about the chart field, and I don't want to talk about that. That's phase 3. Let's stick with FCCS. And they're like, no, they helped me understand very quickly. Like, Mike, you have to make these decisions now. It's very important. It'll actually impact AP as well. So that was our journey. 2.5 years, like I said, started in the first quarter of 2020, and August 22nd, 2022, we went live with phase 3. And here we are today. My vision when we implemented this was to handle all of our local reporting. We're a large bank, right? Over $400 billion in assets. I think we already said the amount that was assets under management, but we're a custody bank, $44 trillion, right? In assets under custody, assets under administration. So we are complex. And I wanted a platform that can deliver for us what the previous one could not. And not just US GAAP reporting, but local reporting. And have one place where all of our local reporting could take place, all of our consolidations could take place. And I wrote some numbers down because I forget. We have probably one of the most complex ledger structures. We have over 160 local reporting ledgers, over 160 of them, between secondary ledgers and reporting ledgers. But that was my vision, to obtain just one place for our controllers to do their local in-country reporting, and one place where we can do all the consolidation reporting as well. And we got there.
Great, Mike. I think we heard some of your benefits as well. Maybe, Jan, if I can go to you and talk about some of the other benefits that we see some of our larger clients drive through.
Yeah, so quick introduction, Jan Lee, partner. Based in New York, work very closely with Tappan and the rest of our Oracle practice with our financial service clients. Been in the industry for over 20 years. As Tappan mentioned, I do focus a lot on full-scale finance transformation, but with a particular lens on data. So, to a lot of the benefits that you already heard, very similar with a lot of our other clients as well. We like to spend a lot of time up front really laying out what some of those targets are, what the KPIs are and metrics are from the get-go. Really taking a concerted effort to baseline those metrics, because a lot of times you got to be able to measure yourself against kind of where you started. We took a large financial services institution live on the full stack of Oracle, from OFSA to ERP, EPM, OAC, and we did that within about an 18-month time frame. One of their key goals for their benefits was around standardization and streamlining, and we were able to get a couple of really great outcomes, one of which was getting their daily GL file processing loads down from 7 hours to 45 minutes. They also had a very, very complex cost allocation web of Essbase cubes that we unwound, and as we implemented PCMCS, we were able to take that process down from 2 days into 3 hours. So a lot of really great efficiency. They were able to take their close down from over 20 days down to 12, and they continue to work on improving some of the manual processes that we couldn't touch completely to get that reduced even further. The other really big area that we see in terms of benefits is now that you have an integrated platform, Oracle, with all your data in a single unified model, really being able to tap into that and allow greater analytics. So this particular client, we implemented OAC, and it allows for a lot of the self-service now that we've been able to build out the infrastructure for the users to go in there and build the reporting and the analytics and the dashboards themselves without really needing to depend on IT to do that in the past.
Great, thanks, Jan. And I think as Jan described a lot of the data work, maybe, Ankur, if I can go to you, talk about your data strategy that you had, again, going across multiple modules as you described.
Yeah, we're across our lines of business. Describing the number of chart of accounts that we had.
Yep.
6,000 accounts, and we rationalized it to 1,500. That was the biggest challenge for us, but it actually was the biggest success for us as well. And so what we wanted to be able to do is to build a foundation to be able to push the data directly into the cloud. And that was a common model that we wanted to leverage, unified data model that allowed us to actually standardize all our, when we go out to our source systems, we want to be able to actually communicate how do we actually ingest data into the cloud. And we wanted to be able to send the data directly into the cloud, everything we capture within into the data foundation, and then build a thin ledger from it. And essentially, that's how we actually drive our data strategy. From a reporting standpoint, I wanted to make sure that we had conformity around how we actually report the data. Essentially, you want to be able to actually sing from the same sheet. And so financial closing consolidations offered them the balance sheet directly out of the application from the reporting layer. There was no different amounts that people had to reconcile, and so that was the biggest pain point for us prior to the cloud implementation, and that we solved for.
Great. Obviously, when we talk about data, I'm sure maybe this is a little bit of a jump ball, but Jan, do you want to talk a little bit about how you advise your clients on data strategy, and how do you bring that component to the equation?
Yeah, so I don't think it's lost on anybody that a lot of the critical success to a lot of these implementations really does come down to data. So I think about data strategy in kind of three different steps. So first, we really want to know what your architectural blueprint will look like. And that really depends on the priorities that you have as you're doing your ERP and EAPM implementation. So I've had clients who, really their focus is on getting the ERP and EPM platform up, and they really just want to pre-process some of the large volumes of data before they get it into the cloud ecosystem. So their architectural choice is to really just make it really about prepping the data. I have other clients who have more broader analytical and centralized finance data needs that they want to architect it in a way where you can use a tool like OFSA, or I've seen clients use other kind of cloud platforms as well, to land the data that becomes the entry point into the rest of the finance ecosystem, but also use that same area to bring the data back from your finance systems back so that you have a central repository for your finance data that kind of ties your raw source transactions to a lot of the KPIs and metrics that have been summarized and calculated using that same data. And then I have clients who are a bit more ambitious, where they really want to tie the finance data strategy to what the rest of the enterprise is doing. And those tend to be a little bit more ambitious because, as we know, all of the enterprise data priorities as well as your finance data priorities can't really go in concert. So there's a lot of interdependencies for clients who go into that vision and that path. But really laying out that blueprint and that kind of North Star of what you're going to look like, and all of these, three options work for various clients depending on what your priorities are. The second step we really focus on is then how are you going to hydrate this data? Very few clients I have perfect data all the way from their source systems ready to go and feed into this ecosystem. So we have to make some conscious decisions around how do I start pulling in this data, and there may be an opportunity for you to just reuse a lot of the data you already have access to, feed it into the pipeline, and stand up this foundation. And then over time, be able to cleanse that data, work directly with your sources, and let that kind of be a BAU type of activity, but really allow you to hydrate that platform once it's really stood up. And then the last step, which I think is one of the most critical ones, is around data governance. You spend so much time cleaning up your data, really working on it during the project phase. You stand up data design authorities to really control the definition of data as you're defining your chart, as well as your extended data dimensions. And a lot of times, clients think that that's the end. You go live and that's the end. But that's only the beginning of you keeping your house clean and keeping that data clean. And one of my clients, they actually put in place kind of a data czar. This person's responsibility was to really reinforce the integrity of a lot of the hard work and the data definitions and the quality standards that were implemented as part of the project. And that just becomes kind of part of your data discipline, and just really reinforcing that post-go live is really important to really maximize all that investment that you put in.
So I might actually speak a little bit about that too. We have a couple different examples of what you just talked about. So on the chart of account side of the house, we implemented a pretty clear set of definitions for each element. We looked to those definitions to approve or deny requests. We're pretty stringent there. For the project that I mentioned that we just launched for our settlement custom applications, we're actually using the preprocessor concept because we have to be able to serve our business. Our customers it is the business, and they use multiple backends that have multiple forms of data. So our hope is coming out of the project is that we'll have this preprocessor that's sort of agnostic to whatever data elements come in. It'll just standardize it and give it to our new PaaS environment to process as we need. So I think a lot of different options exist and can be deployed within your organization, depending on the particular situation.
Great, thanks, Jen. I think maybe I'm going to come back to you in terms of capabilities, right? As you have these competing priorities, acquisitions, entities, how are you rolling out new capabilities? Is, I guess, year 5 or year 4 of your journey?
Right. So I kind of do go back to the style of project that we had in which we really involved our team members. And as a result, we have a pretty competent user community who are invested in the future of the application and invested in having those enhancements we actually had an employee come to me with advanced collections. It was just something that she had researched on her own. She wanted to see implemented for the business that she supported, and she ended up kind of running that project with our technology team that actually has an enhancements arm. She owned it, she researched it, she pushed it forward, she did a fantastic job, and we've now deployed advanced collections for several other business units as a result. Because we empowered and taught our employees to really be part of the process, they have been very active in making sure that the enhancements continue, while myself and some of my leadership team are more focused on the strategic big projects that we have to get done to support the company as a whole. So from a financial perspective and a funding perspective, it's a variety of different ways, right? Companies acquire businesses, there are budgets associated with that. We kind of make sure to take advantage of that when that's available to us. I do make sure to ask my team if they have an enhancement they want to ask for budget for every budget season. And like I said, our technology team has structured themselves to support us with those smaller enhancements as well. So it's been a kind of I would say, a journey that in and of itself, for sure. But it is really rewarding to see the passion that our team members have in keeping our system continually evolving and improving.
Great. Mike, how about you? I know reg reporting is important for you, and what have you done to kind of move out additional new capabilities as they come through from Oracle?
Yeah, so I think our biggest move was with regards to what I mentioned before with reporting. Like I said, over 160 local ledgers, which help us handle local and country reporting. We're in about 41 different countries or 40 plus countries. But we had large volumes of data. We had cost centers upwards of 35,000, and we were consuming that into our previous consolidation system. So when we started the journey, we asked ourselves a question, like, why do we need to do that? This was a lot of blood to pump through the body of our financial systems, right? So we challenged ourselves on that, and we made some decisions with our consolidation system that we would not take in these huge volumes of cost centers and transactional information. You would get that from the general ledger. And then we also took our FCCS consolidation system and we split the applications, so we'd have actuals and we'd have averages. Why did we do that? So one of our main requirements is daily reporting. Every day we produce a balance sheet for the consolidated company and for some of our consolidated smaller banking parent companies. Every day that goes out to liquidity reporting, goes out to regulatory reporting, and a lot of in-country, local country reporting have the same thing. So this was needed for us, but when you take these applications and if you just try to overlay it on a process that you currently have, it's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. You're going to need to be open to changes and ask yourself, what can I do to get what I need? Just have a clean slate, a whiteboard, and say what you would want. And if you have the right team around you, the right senior management, you have the right user base, they'll help you get there. The right partners, they will help you get there. So, we dealt with a lot of high volume data, how to handle it, how to process it. It was a problem for us. But, at the end of the day, we're producing our daily balance sheet. We close the books in 4 business days, so we're making it work.
I know, Ankur, you have a unique experience because you have some prior life experience as well. And would you want to elaborate a little bit on some of the capabilities that Mike talked about and maybe what USAA is also evaluating?
So I worked with Mike on phase 0 of the journey of financial closing consolidation services. When I went through USAA, I had some of the knowledge already around financial closing consolidations. We ran daily close and average daily balances, and similarly at the once we implemented financial close consolidation at USAA. Similarly, we had to actually run daily close. That was the biggest change for USAA as well. And prior to that, there's no trial balances, and there's no a way to assimilate a trial balance report. Now it was there for that. And that was the biggest change for them. And I'm going back to data governance as well. For us, as USAA, for us, we had control gaps. We wanted to ensure we had timeliness, completeness, accuracy across our data. Our standardization that we wanted to actually implement across our data strategy was to implement those controls. And part of our journey was that, and to make that transformation to implement those controls. Give our auditors, everybody, consistent answers across what they're looking for on any inquiry as well. So, that was vital for us to actually achieve.
So all of these projects, they're pretty easy to do, right? I'm sure, right? There's no bumps that we get through. So maybe, Jan, I'm going to come to you and maybe talk about some of the difficult things that our clients go through as they go through the finance transformation journey, and then maybe I'm going to go through the rest of the panel to talk through it as well.
Yeah. I think anybody who's thinking about a transformation like this or has gone through one knows it's not easy. You got to kind of have the stomach for it. And, I think two things, when I really think about the themes of the challenges that we see, the first one is around legacy. So you're implementing a finance system, but you're not re-implementing your entire organization's infrastructure. So the legacy systems and those mainframes that still are going to exist, that you still need to integrate, you still need to understand, and there's nobody that really knows them anymore. And there's probably maybe one person out there, and he's very in demand, right? That legacy tech footprint is, one of the biggest challenges. And that also goes with downstream as well too. So having to integrate, now that you've kind of ripped out the middle of your heart of your GL and how that's going to impact all the downstream systems, just having that respect for the legacy systems, just spending a really good amount of time really understanding those impacts is really critical. And that legacy also relates to processes. And unfortunately, we're not able to re-engineer all the processes that are peripheral to the system. So just really balancing the changes that you have to do with the processes, with some of those other legacy processes, is kind of kind of thinking about it end to end. The second big theme that I see with some of the challenges is really around fear. And I think of fear, it manifests itself in a couple of ways. So I think a lot of clients fear that they're going to make the wrong decisions. And so implementing something like a design authority where you have an empowered group of people to really make these key design decisions so that the fear doesn't paralyze you and you're not in a consensus-driven program, because that definitely is very debilitating, and you'll be in kind of analysis paralysis for a while. And then the other fear aspect is just what's going to change. And so really engaging your users very early on, helping them walk through a lot of the implications. I'm working with a client now where we're changing out the chart of accounts and just really helping them understand the impact of what that change of the chart is going to do in the new world. We're probably another year out from go live, but we're starting that conversation right now.
I think I just want to add to that. That's really important when you brought up the key design authority. Like having strong governance, especially in the beginning of the project, and being open to change and welcoming the debate in those authority and those governance meetings, they really go a long way. We had a saying at the bank, we're only going to get the best outcome if we debate. Right? I mean, sometimes we would debate a little bit too long. It wouldn't impact the project, but we would play devil's advocate just to make sure we were getting the right outcome there. But that key design authority, I would say, is best practices. That was very helpful to us.
Yep, I agree. We deployed that theory as well, and it's actually being used across other projects within Global as well. I think the other point that's really critical, and it enables the design authority, is sort of being very, very attentive to your plan, and it really has to be detailed. It is a critical element of being successful, is having that detailed week by week plan of what all has to happen to get you to that end date. And so when you're faced with making a really critical design decision, you can deploy that design authority or decision review board or whatever you want to call it. You can deploy them with the understanding of, you must make a decision within the next, 3 business days or the next 2 weeks, or you're going to impact, or we are going to impact the project. So I think kind of having that initial vision of knowing what you want to get to and then putting the pieces together to get you there and sticking to it is critical. And I think where we've had challenges is, in those situations where you aren't sticking to that timeline and to that plan. And it's not always, the right thing to do to stick to it, for sure. Sometimes you have to take a minute and spend a little bit more time on decisions. But generally speaking, I think that's a critical success factor, for sure.
Makes sense. Ankur, I'm going to come to you, maybe switch a little bit of the Oracle experience, right? Now that they have changed the customer service experience, ISMs, what has been your experience as Oracle has also evolved in terms of customer service?
Well, I am show of hands. Everybody watches Iron Chef. Well, there's 2 segments, right? There's the first segment where you make the main course. You have a limited number of ingredients that you can work with. You're under time constraint. You have contact switching. You have things that are going on, challenges, budget constraints, everything. That's what I see as, the main course. But when you have the right SI partner, you have engaged Oracle early on. I would say that's when you're making the dessert. But 9 out of 10 times, I would say it's imperfect when you're actually making the course because you're facing those challenges. And then you're making a dessert, you're ready for that challenge. So I think that's the key for me as far as lessons learned, is to, having the right testing strategy, having the right reporting strategy ahead of time, ensuring you're managing your change, across our end users, holding their hands, walking them through their journey. And that's very critical for us.
Great. Mike, I'm sure you're hungry for dessert now. Are you ready?
Yeah.
But anyway, Mike, I'm going to come to you, and maybe what's next for
Yeah.
Bank of New York Mellon?
So we've been, I won't compare us to the Iron Chef. So we've been live just over a year now, right? And the question is, what is next for us? Well, believe it or not, we're still understanding the capabilities of the modules and the applications. So in simple terms, we're optimizing our use of these modules. And I would put them into 3 different categories: controls, reports and analytics, right? Because I'm a controller, so I'm all about accounting and reporting. And then I would say user interface, user interaction with the applications, right? Making that positive. So on the control side, we have the intercompany module, for example. We've just implemented a control where we're settling money across several countries, several jurisdictions. There are holidays in certain countries and not in other countries. So rather than have something fall into suspense or manually intervene, we realized that there was a way that we can accommodate that in an automated fashion, not have suspense, not have to do something manual. On reporting and analytics, we're looking at straight through research, drilling down from FCCS right into the ledger. And I'm hopeful, very hopeful, that we're testing that now, that we're going live with that shortly, sometime in the fourth quarter. But that would be a tremendous uplift for us, right, to do that. And on the user interface, it's just endless. We have a lot of heavy engagement with the users. We were very inclusive, just like Global Payments was with our user base. So they're always coming up with suggestions. And in our multi-period accounting module, we're just making it easier for users to actually input data into there, to have their MPAs, multi-period accounting, process easier, right? Right now, it's a little bit manual for them. So it's just making it easier. And we're just doing things like that every week, every month. So optimizing the system, and we'll take it from there.
Great, Mike. And maybe Jen, I'm coming to you in terms of anything you would change?
I think when I look back, we've obviously had lots of lessons that we've learned over our projects. I think the point about peripheral applications is a really good one. Whether they're upstream or downstream or complementary or whatever, knowing that, kind of that inventory of applications is really important. But I would say going back to that very first project, I would have probably worked harder to have more of our technical debt covered in that initial business case. We definitely had acquisitions that were not integrated when we went to the cloud. and I should have worked harder to have a little bit more money in that business case so I could have integrated them in that very first project. But besides that, every project has had its challenges, and every project has offered lessons, but that's probably the one thing that I would definitely change.
Thanks, Jen. So I'm going to maybe close this out at this point. First of all, thanking the panel for your participation. As I started this journey, right, I told you about that we had the largest asset servicer in the world present. We had the payment network as well as an insurance company. I hope you guys got enough out of this session, but if not, the purpose of this is you have some conduits, you have an avenue to ask questions, and we will be around here. We will be here the rest of the session. So wishing everybody a very healthy rest of the year and look forward to meeting some of you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.